We got a great show planned for you guys today. Looking forward to seeing what your all's opinion is on some of these topics I've got lined out. And, as always, I count on you guys to get involved with me. And sometimes we get then going down a different tangent. And hey, that's okay too. But hey, here we are on April 15th. My goodness. It's a day you love to hate or hate to love. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's all perspective on it, but I don't know. I know I got to call my bookkeeper CPA here when I get off the show today and figure out. I got an email said, "Hey, give us a call." So, oh my God, I'm laughing now, but I'm sure to be crying later. But anyways, hey, it is what it is, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Is are you ready? Are you done? Are you did you get your taxes done? If you're on a corporate taxing, at calendar year, then hey, maybe you got done by March 15th. Now your personals are due, or maybe you're going on a different fiscal year. So, but hey, for most of us, it's tax day, and hopefully it's not too hard on y'all. Hey, none of us. It's one of those things. And Daniel touched on it too. It'd be 250 years. You'd think you'd see a little progress on some things. And I mean, we've seen a whole lot of progress, but golly, man, it's just tax on tax on tax. And we're not going to turn that into my show today, but I did just want to pop in and talk a little bit about it as we kick the morning off. But other than that, man, we're talking about mid 80s here in Louisville today. So we're about 15. I think it's going to be like 15 degrees above normal. And we've had a really warm spring, so who knows what that's going to bring about for us as the season progresses along. But only Mother Nature knows. But hey, whatever it is, if it's dry, if it's hot, it's wet, we got to deal with it either way. So that's what we'll do. So supposed to have a little bit of rain tomorrow around here. We'll see. So scattered showers and thunderstorms potentially. So we've been doing a little bit of work and trying to preparing for that. And if we do, have some rain hours tomorrow, then we'll deal with that as we always do. But hopefully it won't be too wet. And then Friday's supposed to be back to a good day. And then hopefully your week's going good for you. Just curious what you guys might be into today. Share that with me. 502-550-8307. What are you into today? Have you wrote that check yet? Oh, Lordy. Are you waiting to just get it ran and postmarked and then wait until midnight or a little before to drop it in? I know our main post office here is not too far from us, and it gets pretty hectic over there. They have traffic guides and guards and directions and all that going on up to about midnight over there with everybody procrastinating. And that the thing is though, I mean, there's really the reality of it is it is what it is. So, but hey, we're doing a little bit of work out there today, trying to generate some income so we can pay those taxes, right? I mean, get them. That's a get those profit dollars, and you try to reinvest and do that, and just try to do the right thing, business wise, and make those reinvestments so you get those write offs. And, we'll, talk a little bit about that here shortly. But, it can be a little bit challenging. It is frustrating when you write that check. But on the other hand, it can beat the alternatives. So, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I know we're trying to get quite a few things done. We got derbies kicking off around here this weekend. We have our what's called Thunder, which is a huge air show and fireworks. So it looks like we might be a little wet on the back side of that. So we'll see. I mean, that's Saturday. So who knows? I haven't even reached out to BAM yet, asking them about it because they too early to be dialed in on the specific timing. But just it is what it is. You know, if you want to go down there and take the chance and get down there, there's going to be probably, I don't know, there's always, several 100,000 people that line the river on both sides of, Indiana and Kentucky to watch this thing, and it's a huge event. It's just a shame, that if they do have rain and thunderstorms like or forecast for that would happen, because it's like nice up to it and then it nice after it for several days. It just the Thunder Day is looking like it might not be the best late afternoon and evening time frame. So, but you know what? You can't do anything about it. So we just work with it. What we can do something about is listening to Turfs Up Radio and all the great shows that we have on here. And, that starts every morning at 7 a.m. with the Turf Nerds and Evan and Greg doing their thing. And, man, I appreciate those guys, hopping on and doing what they do, and Eric and Daniel and, me. And then I think King Darren's actually going to be on today after me. So, hey, stay tuned. A lot of different perspectives during the day going your way. And that's what makes us all different and better businesses, is you get to hear different ideas from different people from different markets across the country, and how they do things, and, things that they found that work and some that don't, and that whole situation. So, Turfs Up Radio is always here to help elevate and educate the industry, and that's what we do. And you're not always going to agree with everything, and for example, on what I say, and that's okay. I don't want you to. I mean, we're all business owners, and we've got the freedom to make different choices on how we want to do what we want to do in our businesses. And different things work for different folks. So, like I said, that's the advantage you get here on Turfs Up, with so many different ideas, coming from different mindsets and different size companies, all over the country, that it does give you an opportunity to say, hey, this might work, this may not work for me, but regardless, it makes sense, So, and sometimes, hey, you can just say, hey, Wayne, that was good for a laugh, man. There's no way I'm ever going to do that. And you won't hurt my feelings with that. But, yeah, Mike said between Thunder and Derby, it's made hotel rates crazy. Yeah, I bet it has, for real. So,
Think about that.
Yeah, just and they have put a lot of minimums on them, like 2 days, 3 days, minimums. I've often thought about, uh, renting out my RV for a place to stay for people, but I don't know. I just never could pull the trigger and make it make sense. Yeah, right here, Camp Mutual, right here at our shop, and they'd be close to just about anything they wanted to do. But I don't know. We a lot of people, a lot of people certainly make a big trip out of it and spend a ton of money down here, and we certainly do appreciate the economic contribution that everybody makes to our city. And like I said, it all fires up and starts this weekend with Thunder, and then we get into a lot of things. Uh, oh, Mike said he should have asked about the RV before he booked a room for his hockey tournament.
True.
So, hey, Mike, you playing up here this weekend?
Not this weekend. It's next weekend.
Or next weekend. He is.
Yeah.
Next weekend. Okay.
Like next weekend, the next weekend.
So I gotcha. So that's when he's rolling in too. So, all right, just curious, man. So, um, Daniel's evidently got to. We might, we gotta hang out for that, Mike. So you be sure to keep us informed on that, buddy. So, keep us informed on what's going on, and we'll do our thing to make it work, and try to get out there and watch you. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got tickets.
Oh, do you?
No.
Oh,
we're going. I don't think there's tickets involved, but
I got you.
As far as I know, Mike's hockey.
Yeah.
Next weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's not a
I don't
midnight.
think it's midnight. Mike, send the times when you get them, but
yeah. So interesting, to say the least. All right. So let's take a short break. Here we are on Profit Time. Welcome back. Welcome back on this hump day, April 15th. Looking forward to good rest of our week here. We got Wednesday underway and looking forward to getting some things accomplished today and tomorrow and Friday, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, your week is off and rolling pretty well. And we got a neat video that we put up in the Profit Circle. By the way, you guys need to check out our Call of the Week video about our buddy that I was telling you about. So just want y'all to know the guy that I was talking about last week, and I just gave you kind of a hint on it, and then go check it out. But that was wanting the work done, and then he didn't. Then he said, "Well, gosh, Wayne, I made a mistake. I told you what I had in my budget for it, and blah blah blah." So we went over and got that work accomplished for that guy. So, anyways, we got it accomplished, and all was good, and all went well with that. But I want to give Katie a big shout out too for being awesome on the phone here at WLS, and she always makes people feel good, and I think that's something that we can all think about. And what I mean by that is, as she's talking to them, she always interacts, and not only interacts, that's not the right word, interjects small talk to make the phone conversation fun with them, and I think that's something we can all think about, and how we handle the telephone. How we handle the how we answered, how we return a call. Who we return, who gets called back first, and those kind of things. We're not getting into all that today, but you do need to have a methodology in place. And speaking of having good methodologies in place, I know this is like throwing the dart out there pretty far, but April 27th, it's a Monday. We're going to have a gentleman on air with me. His name's Mike Rogers, and a super great guy. He's from the Greenwood, Indiana area, I believe. Greenwood, yeah, Indiana area. Super nice guy. I met Mike probably 20 plus years ago at a seminar, and he's going to hop on the show with us on the 27th. We'll keep you informed on that. But looking forward to having Mike on. He's turned his business into a very, very successful mega business, and I'll let him talk to you guys about that, and we'll have a little discussion about that as well. So, anyways, let's see. Mike said he always tries to make it personable, not personal. And that was some solid advice my brother gave me, who's been in sales a long time ago. Absolutely. Make them feel that, you're engaged with them, and make them feel like a person, that the most important thing is not just the fact that, they're getting a just a simple uh, order taker, if you will. So that's something just to think about with that end of it. So, um, but I'm glad to hear that, Mike. That's really a good way of putting that. Make it personable, but not personal. And that actually, I got something I'm going to talk about a little bit later in my show, Mike. That's kind of a play on words as well, but makes sense like that does. And uh, matter of fact, I don't know, maybe we can, maybe we can just discuss that at this point. Really, let's just roll into it, Daniel. I thought of this on the way home yesterday, um, and I don't know, it might be a little bit weird. It's kind of not weird. It's just there. I just thought of this, like where do you, and it's about pricing, is what it amounts to. Is about positioning yourself in pricing, you know, and where and how do you position yourself in that pricing? And what I actually thought about was this: are you too cheap to be expensive, and too expensive to be cheap? In other words, what what niche or where do you want your business to fall into? Some guys, some contractors, business owners are going to say, well, let's just get in the middle. Well, the middle may not be the best place, you know. So, but then on the other hand, are you too high to be the low person, but not charging enough to have the perception of you're you're worth all that value? Kind of like what buying a I don't know, just
I know what you're saying.
going to the high end on a vehicle, let's say,
Yeah.
whatever that may be, a Lamborghini, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or are you going another route, or something in between? And of course, that's a completely different market than what we're doing as service related industry contractors. Uh, it's easy to get yourself in that high side of the cheap, but you're not high enough to be with the elite. And not that you don't, and that may not be the best explanation for it, but I think you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to say is don't get yourself caught in the middle of a pricing with your services. In other words, know where you're at, know what you need to charge, and then figure out what do you want to, what perceived value do you want to place on value, I guess.
I think part
Uh,
of what you're saying is also a misalignment or a lack of alignment with what you want to actually be good at or what you want to, like, what do you want to provide the marketplace? That's what it comes
yes.
down to. If you want to provide the marketplace with a cheap service, like be the cheapest possible that you can, while of course still being or still being a small amount profitable, right? Like
Right.
it's not losing money, but still being as cheap as you can. Then that's going to influence, like, that's your pricing, but that's also influencing everything else within your business, right? Like
Yes.
that's influencing how you do business, how you're capable of doing business, why your customers are hiring you, and on
Right.
and on and on. And that those two things have to match up though. Like if you want your business to be successful. And the same is true with the higher end aspect. If your pricing is higher end, then you're going after a customer that is not as focused on being, that doesn't want the cheapest
Right.
business to work with. But what they do want are things like consistency and you showing up, looking good and not, flicking cigarettes in their mulch, um, communication being on point,
Yes.
just anytime they call, you're calling them or calling them right back, having tools available to pay online or communicate via some sort of portal. But if you don't have those things, but you're charging like you do, then there's misalignment in your pricing in your model. So you have to provide those two things have to be equal, right? Like that's where the value does come in. The value isn't, oh well, you're hiring me because I'm a top tier company because I charge X
Top
amount.
tier pricing.
Yes, that doesn't make you a top tier company. What makes you a top tier company is what you provide to them, which is why they are paying a higher price.
Right. Craig makes a good analogy. He says it's like an NFL team that pays $50 million a year for an elite quarterback, but then cuts costs for running backs and other positions. You don't want to be the guy in the middle that doesn't have a clear lane, you
Yeah,
know. And that's it. It's about a clear business model that defines, who you are, where you want to be, who you want your customers to be.
yeah,
But don't get yourself hung up in being on the high end of the too cheap to be expensive or too expensive to be cheap.
right. But if you're
You
going to
know?
be the middle guy, it's almost a little bit harder to be that
Yes.
because you have to be kind of a jack of all trades in a sense, meaning you have to be pretty good at figuring out how to lower your prices but you also, which means you may have to do a little bit more work to make up for it. But at the
Yes.
same time, you also have to be reliable and consistent, good with communication, which is probably all three of those are going to be harder when you have more clients to service. You probably aren't necessarily maybe bringing in enough revenue and enough keeping it at enough of that to invest in different softwares and technologies and equipment to make you more efficient. So it's like being in the middle is, it's not just like you don't stand out, but it's also harder to sustain because you're trying to do everything and
Yeah.
be everything.
Yeah. You're trying to, your arms are a little too wide open. It goes back to, take a little more time and effort into pick a lane.
Mm-hmm.
And, and we use
Figure
that
out what you want to
analogy
be good
quite
at.
a bit and figure out what it is you want to be good at. It was, and that in itself can, that pricing will attract or turn off certain types of people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other side of it. I know it's like Katie had an experience yesterday with a new account that she had put on here locally, where she talked to one person, called in the request for the service, and gave advice on, hey, well, this is what we need done, this is what we want done. Well, so she measured what they said they want it done and sent the pricing out. They signed off, somebody else signed off on it, and we got out there yesterday to do the job, and then somebody else walked out and said, well, hey, that includes this area here, which was end up being about three times or so the square footage of the minimum job that it was priced at, for mowing and trimming. So Katie called him back, and she talked to I guess both people actually. And, but the one gentleman that she talked to, you know, she first reached out to the person that signed the service agreement and said, hey, when our crew got over there, you know, they wanted additional work done. So we did do it while we were there, but just want to let you know that this is going to be the cost for the service. And that's when he got into a discussion of, well, you guys were right in line with everybody else on your pricing, and they knew they were doing the rest of it. Well, we were told, hey, it's the front of the building only, because they're on a corner lot, and it's one of those situations to try to paint a picture for you guys. They're on a corner lot, and that goes to another corner lot. But looking at it and based on the direction we got, they were not. We weren't supposed to be doing anything other than the front of the building. Long story short, they added about 3x the rate, and the level of difficulty on the other part of the job was, it was a lot of ditch lines, which just decreased the efficiency of the job and increased the cost. So curious to see how to come out. I mean, we built them for the work that we did, and the one guy that Katie talked to initially, he told her when he called, I don't know if he called first or second, and he was returning a call, but he said, well, I'm just an employee here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the owner actually signed the contract, and I get that, but you're representing that company, you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, and
It's a tough situation because I think it's hard to know, was this a miscommunication or was it intentionally misleading?
yeah,
That's, and then if it was miscommunication, then both parties feel like they kind of got cheated by the other party because we feel like, okay, they might have tried to take advantage of us, but they could potentially also feel like, oh wow, just another contractor is going to price one way and then bill a different way. So it's like nobody's really winning at the end of the day in that situation.
yeah. Mike just sent us. He said he had a similar situation last season. Two branch managers, two locations signed off on estimates, and after the first month of service, when the bill went to corporate, they refused to pay it. So, I mean, it's all in. I mean, you can only do the best you can do as the owner of the your lawn and landscaping business, right, or lighting or whatever it is that you're doing. You know, I, to make sure it's clear and concise that you are talking to the right person, and that's one of the reasons that our service agreement says it doesn't say owner. It's company representative.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not the owner, I can't make that decision. Well, you called, you said you're representing the company, you signed the service contract. In this case it wasn't, it was somebody, the local manager called, but the owner signed off on the contract. And then Katie did say, though, he understood, the owner, was understanding on it, and said, no, I get it, we just, didn't know, or I didn't know. But Katie made a point to send him, the whole conversation with the first gentleman that called too. So I don't know. We'll see. We hadn't got it back signed at a higher price, which is okay. But I mean, and I share that with everybody because back in the day, I probably would have continued to mow that, Daniel, at a lower price, just thinking, well, I need it to work, and all the reasons that we give ourselves, when you just for sure don't need to put yourself through that. There's just so many reasons not to do it, even if you want to try to justify to yourself, well, I'll sell them something else, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. And there's going to be something else involved. And, the reality of it is, no, it's not. Um, Mike said he made the comment to one branch manager that I felt bad for her, that she has the responsibility to take care of the place, but no authority to do it. And that's a really good point. We talk about that here on Turfs Up a lot of time, about when you delegate responsibility to somebody. Those two have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, give them the responsibility to do the job, but also give them the authority to get it accomplished. And when you don't, then you have situations like this and worse that come into play. So make sure that you're not given responsibility without authority to get the work done. That's a very good point, Mike. Very good point on that, to say the least. So, but I don't know. I wanted to share that little story with you as I talk about, how good Katie is on the phone, and, making people feel comfortable when they're calling and whatnot. So she doesn't turn it into a a personal conversation, right? To Mike's point, but it is a personal bull conversation. And, that's why it was, she didn't have any problem at all going back and talking to this location and saying, hey, you know, it was misunderstanding on which I want it done. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like this time of the year you have more of that. And I guess it's just because of the transition of accounts, the customer carousels, I call
Yeah.
it. You know, so where it happens with all of us, I think, and that's where, again, like Katie told him, well, I'm sorry that we were competitive with other people that were bidding larger areas,
Yeah.
but we're going to price the job accordingly. You know, I mean, we did it the first time because we were there and wanted to do what was right by the customer, but that doesn't mean we're going to continue to do it
Right.
that same way, especially when there is a little bit of sign of uh, misrepresentation, misleading. And that still doesn't justify the time and effort to go out and look at every job either. This was not a complicated job, you know,
Right.
and
And the bad thing is it's there's steps that we could talk about that to take that could potentially solve more miscommunication. But at the end of the day too, it's like, well, does that necessarily translate to someone who isn't going to pay that they're just going to pay anyway? Probably not. If they're not going to pay, they're not going to pay. We
Right.
have a signed contract. That still doesn't mean that everyone pays.
That
So adding
right.
more layers of, check this box to, add an additional 2% of less communication doesn't like it. At some point, the efficiency loss doesn't actually add more money in. And
Yes.
I don't know if this type of situation is like 100% fixable, regardless of steps that you take.
Yeah. I don't either, Daniel. Honest to God, I don't either. I don't think it was wrong on our end. I mean, you think of how many we do that way,
Yeah.
And like I said, it all goes back into the detailed collection of the data on the phone. Because I hear Katie, doing that with people all the time, and I do too. Is this for front and sides and back, or is this front only? And some people kind of laugh when you ask them if it's front only, but you'd be surprised how many front onlys we do, or front and sides,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it kind of comes into that conversation a little bit with people, to say the least. But hey, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. That being said, I want to talk about some mowing challenges um, for a minute, Daniel, that we all run into, in the spring. And, some of that is, going to be one-time cuts, you know. Um, I'm not a fan of many of them, to say the least. Certainly don't care about doing any of them, but just curious if you guys do one-time cuts. What's your opinion, Daniel?
I
If you're a
mean,
consumer,
as a
and
consumer,
do you understand why, or
no, not really. Doesn't matter to me as a consumer to understand why.
you know,
I think it's just, oh, you don't do it. That's fine. I'll move on and find somebody else that does.
yeah,
Like going
because
to the
we do.
drive-through. Oh, you don't offer chicken. I'll go to the next one, see if they got chicken.
Yeah, I mean, I hate when I have that discussion with somebody. That, well, why don't you do it? Well, you give them your reasoning, but hey, we only do seasonal service. You know, um, I wonder how much potentially, and there's really no way to tell, but what do you think? Do you think potentially you're giving? I don't think we're giving up that much. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to know how you would even make, because it's not just, oh, we're going to start doing every single call that we get that's in our service area. It's also, what does that mean we have to do? Do we have to hire a new person or new people to like take away from the other work that we're doing, to not take away from other work that we're doing, or do we take away from the other work that we're doing? So there's the logistics that go behind, you know, if we did 100 per year of one-time call-ins,
How many of those do you think would turn into something other than a one-time service?
not
I
many.
don't think it would. I know that's, because in the past we used to try to do them many years ago, and what really started happening was people were getting frustrated because those first cuts were costing, you know, 3x a normal cut, and then they think you're just charging them too much. God, I can't believe you're going to charge me that much to cut my grass. Well, I can't believe you wait and let your grass get foot and a half tall, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I think it turns into a bad situation, and that's why we started doing it, you know? Let's see. Fred says they'll only do a one-time cut if they sign up for their other services, mulching, lawn care, pruning, etc. Yeah, that's about, Fred. That's about the same way we handle it. Is, somebody calls in that we're already providing additional services for. We'll do that. Like, hey, I'm going on vacation. Can y'all catch me for a couple of weeks or whatever? We'll do that. But yeah, that's how we are. We want something along with it. We just worked on some new yard signs here. Kyle and Katie and Daniel been looking at that, and we have, and getting some new signs. But I don't know. It just depends. We haven't had a lot of good luck with they give me a discount and I'll promote your service. I like we'll give you great service and then promote our service, and uh, we'll give you a referral fee on it. We do offer that, for people that send clients our way. We do have a nice referral fee because it is nice to get those referrals. But I think that give me a discount hit the nail on the head on how a lot of people ask for it. And even think of yourself. I mean, when you've bought things, uh, I've tried it. Hey man, can you help me out a little bit? I wouldn't mind sharing your name a little bit. Well, I'm realistically going to share their name anyway.
Yeah.
So oh lordy, but I thought I'd play that. It kind of fit in right there. But from a mowing standpoint, and I know Monday we talked about a lot of these spring issues about fert and weed and whatnot. So I wanted to touch on mowing, some of the mowing frustrations that a lot of us go through. But the one that really gets me a lot too is when people say, "Can you mow a little lower?" Can you mow or low? Can you mow my lawn lower? You know, 3 days after you leave here, it looks like you hadn't mowed. Well, it's spring of the year, you know? And I realize that, there is a lot of push for people that want their lawns done, on that Thursday or Friday thing. But, not everybody can have their yard cut on Thursday or Friday. Matter of fact, with us, we don't schedule any Friday mowing. I mean, we just don't do it. Friday's our catch up day if we get behind on mowing. I mean, that's what we utilize, Friday for. But I know a lot of guys are very, very scheduled heavy on Friday and Thursdays. And I used to be, but it does put you in, or it can put you in a tough position, especially in the spring of the year. You know, once you get, rolling a little bit, you're 8 weeks into the season or so, and weather's kind of straightened out a little bit. It's not quite as crazy, but that right now is the tough time. Is between now and probably what 30 days from now, 30 we got about 30, 40 more days of man, I need my yard cut again. I need my yard cut again kind of concept. And, can you move me to another day? Because by the time the weekend rolls around, my yard looks terrible. And, we just always try to tell people that, hey, this time of the year, nobody really is on a set day because of weather. I mean, you are. We have you scheduled for a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. But, hey, we're working around weather just like you guys are. And how do y'all handle that? I mean, if you get rained out, do you start back where you leave off? Because I hear a lot of guys talking, Daniel, and this does not make sense to me. But if they get rained out a couple days, they'll just start with where they're at. Like if it rains Monday and Tuesday and they don't get out till Wednesday, well, they'll just start on their Wednesday stuff and work their others in as they can. I don't know. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm not sure about that. I don't. Well, I am sure about it. I think you start where you got rained out, and should be the right methodology for that. What do you think?
I think that makes sense to me. I could see maybe if you're trying to prioritize your like Wednesday customer, like, okay, well, they're used to me being here on this day at this time, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it and get them done and happy. And maybe that's where the mindset comes from.
And I think that is some of it, and I think that's another reason that when you look at scheduling work, you don't overschedule your mowing work. Is that don't schedule daylight to dark because then when do you catch up? But if you don't get that full daylight to dark schedule in, then when you do get rained out, it gives you an opportunity to hey, we can get caught up. But if we know, for an example, like at WLS, we got an opportunity then to take additional yards and pick them up that next day, to help us get back on schedule. So scheduling, is a whole lot of it on how much you're trying to get done, and on a normal schedule, and are you allowing time to get back onto schedule, which I think a lot of times can be very complicated, and that's why a lot of guys would just skip and just start where they're at, and then just pick it up next week. I mean, that's not my methodology, but that doesn't mean theirs is wrong either. Especially, and then it goes back to the clientele you got. What are the
Mm-hmm.
clientele's expectations?
Yeah.
So that gets. Fred says they start where they left off. Can't skip or push the following week in spring. You know, it just costs you production time next week to get back in shape. Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. I'd rather start where we left off, and if it takes us a couple days to catch up or a day to catch up, depending on, how much rain out time we had. And that does, that goes into knowing your accounts too on, well, some lawns, that, hey, man, no, we cannot mow that yard wet. You just can't do it. But then there's some that that, hey, it is okay. Um, Mike says, do we set a certain amount of properties a day per crew, or just do what you can till quitting time? On a normal day, we go out with a route, you know, and that's how we do it. You go out with a route that, again, we don't schedule daylight to dark, but we go out with a decent, route for that day. And if we get rained out, then we know, hey, we've got a few hours that we can use as catch up time if we need to use it for catch up time. So that's where I said it goes back to um, having your route set up to where you're not going daylight to dark. Mike said he likes having a certain number, and when we finish early, we finish early. Yeah, that's the way we do it. We have a route that has, got a certain number of labor hours built into it. And when that's done, we should have daylight left. And if we need to pick something up, we can, but normally we don't. But again, that goes back into best management practices on your routes, the types of customers you're selling, the value of the service and that you're selling, to your customers. Because that's one of the things, that we do sell is, that, hey, we're going to get your lawn serviced weekly. And the reason we know that is, I mean, unless something really catastrophic happens, I mean, we can add a complete another crew or two out if we need to, to just get our mowing caught up. So there's things that you got to think about, especially as you grow your company and your company scales on how you're going to handle things like that. But small lawns, I hate hearing that this time of the year. Oh, I've got a small lawn. What would you charge to cut it? We had a lead come in just last night from a lady that she was kind enough to put it on her form fill sheet that she went through our website. She's, hey, I need maintenance, landscape help, a small amount of border control, rocks, she said with a question mark, feeding and weed prevention. In other words, everything. But it's a very small yard, and back needs a push more. Riding more won't make the corner of the gate. So she gave us some pretty good information there to know that, hey, can we do it? Are we going to have access to it? Can we get in or not? That, hey, if you're not going to be push mowing, then let me know. She doesn't say that, but certainly we will. Let's see. Mike said he could never seem to get the guys back consistently, and they were only mowing a certain number of lawns a day on average. So, well, I mean, that goes to labor hours. It's that's how I'll we route ours out, right, is based on labor hours on a job. It may be 5 jobs, or it may be 20 jobs. It just depends on what the labor hours are on the job, on how we get those things routed out. And sometimes we're good and sometimes we're not. Again, it depends on, hey, in the spring, we know production's always going to be a little slower, but on average, this is our expected time of completion on those labor hours, and that's how we schedule it. Something else that I thought I'd bring up here quickly, Daniel, is and most of you all may be doing this, but if you're not, this is just like your uh, tip of the day kind of thing. Have a sheet in your truck to whereas if you get to a property, residential property, and the gate's locked, the dog's out, something like that, have a sheet that you can leave with somebody, you know? Um, Now you can have that, and the implementation of that can be pretty good most of the time, but and it should be used all the time. But have something like that that lets a customer know, hey, back gate was locked or dog was out, and that's one reason I hate call aheads, and we're not getting in a call ahead situation today. We only got 4 minutes left, but you know, have something that you can leave with your customer that says, "Hey, it wasn't like we just didn't do it. We couldn't do it because of." Or if you have an accident, while you're there, uh, whatever that may look like, and you hit a downspout or a rug got cut or whatever it may be. Again, something you can leave your customer to help increase the value of what you're doing for them. Hey, they've bought into hiring a more professional service. There's things that we need to do to prove to our customers that, hey, they have made the right choice. You have hired a professional service, and if something happens, we're going to let you know, and we're going to, if you're not here, we'll leave you a sheet of paper and or shoot you a text or send you an email. Just do the little things different and better than your competitor. And I think that's something that a lot of times we don't do. We try to think about it's always more sales, and more customers. It doesn't always have to be like that. And I know another situation we run into occasionally is people will call and say, I got a letter from the city and I got 10 days to get my grass cut, but it's not very high. Well, and I know that that's probably not the situation, meaning that it's not very high. Because it takes a while. I don't know about your market, but it takes a while to get a notification from the city here in Louisville. So, and then again, those are the customers that obviously weren't paying attention or weren't caring about their property, and now they're trying to figure out, how are we going to get it cut within this 10-day time frame. So, again, that may be somebody you want to help out. Maybe it's somebody you can help out. Hopefully, it is. I mean, some of those will do, but honestly, most of them we shy away from because you get into dealing with something like that, you don't know what you're cutting. You don't know what's underneath. What can't you see? And now all of a sudden, even though you may be doing a residential lawn, of that's not too big square footage wise, you know, you don't know what's underneath there. Somebody that's going to let their grass get that out of control has probably got some stuff in the yard that you're not going to see until it's too late. And now it doesn't make sense that you're going to tear equipment up over it. So a lot of spring little frustration things can come along that make it challenging for us. But know that, hey, here we are, April 15th. We're working our way through spring, another 4 or 5 weeks, and things should plane out and level out a little bit. Still going to be busy, absolutely. Hopefully, hopefully everybody's still busy after that. But you get past that spring rush, if you will, which can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. So appreciate your time today. Appreciate you listening. And as always, stay tuned here to Turfs Up Radio all day long. And we'll see you guys on Friday. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.